Hello everyone, Mark here at the Action Figuratorium studio. As some of you know, I like to go to thrift stores and I like to rescue toys that are possibly on the chopping block to what happens is they eventually get thrown away. So like if you go to Goodwill and if nobody buys the toys there, they eventually go to one last chance called the bins, and if they don't sell at the bins, they're gone. Anyways, I managed to rescue a couple new and pack action figures, a McFarlane Catwoman and this Fortnite Pirantishead. Excuse me, not Fortnite, Power Rangers. It's at the point where you can't even tell these brands apart, but I got it because I don't really know anything about Power Rangers, but I looked at the back and I said, that's the action figure? I need one of those. So I'm going to take these out, we're going to talk about them, but what we're really going to talk about is how there is a glut, a huge supply of toys that are not sold and that are ending up on the secondhand thrift store Goodwill market. And if you're collecting these toys on eBay, just know that there are a lot of them out there and that you should be getting them for pretty cheap, so stick around. So the first toy that I managed to find, this is in the McFarlane Batman Classic TV series. This is a Catwoman. Now at my Goodwill, I have seen a lot of this series showing up. There was one day a stack of Jokers there, and snapped a pic for proof in case you think I'm just yammering, but passed on those. And the reason is because if you're seeing that stuff at Goodwill in large quantities, then you have to know that there are a lot of them out there everywhere, and that if you are picking them up specifically to resell, which I believe just about most of the ones that people do buy at the Goodwill end up at resellers, either eBay, or there's actually a couple spots in town where there's a couple of vendor spots at these antique malls that are action figure only. You find this kind of stuff hanging on the wall there, things that they themselves scored at Goodwill, and I score stuff there all the time. And sometimes I pick it up thinking, well, I'm just going to take it home. It's $1 or $2 I'm going to put on the shelf. I'm going to wait 10, 15 years, see where it's at, then sell it later. But every once in a while I'll find something that actually I kind of want, and this is the case with this Catwoman. I didn't know I wanted it until I saw it. I'm actually a big fan of the Catwoman character. One of my favorite action figures is this Micronauts Catwoman 3.75 that Takara puts out. I really love that figure. It's one of the earliest figures I started collecting, and it's super posable, super cool. I always loved the Catwoman, no matter what the iteration. Mostly, some are a little cooler than others, just saying. But for those of you that don't know, I'm a geezer, and my Batman was actually that Batman from the 60s, the Batman 66 they talk about with Adam West. Even though I wasn't around in the 60s, that stuff was all on reruns during the day for me as a kid in the 70s. So my first taste of Batman, and I don't know if really the word taste is what I want to use there, but my first taste of the Batman was that Batman. It wasn't until later that they did the Michael Keaton movie, which I saw in the theater, and I thought it was, for the most part, kind of dumb. And then they did more of those, and they kept getting dumber and dumber. And then of course there was the animated Batman, which I think most people agree is probably the best iteration of the character so far, in that it really brings back that 1920s Art Deco Gotham that I think Batman really sort of I think that's part of his scene, his aura. I think that's a big part of it. So for me, getting a 66 Catwoman I think is pretty cool. Also, it's the 6-inch scale, which plays nice with so many figures. I talk about this all the time when it comes to collecting action figures in different lines, that certain scales just play nice with other scales, and the 1/12 is the current one that everyone has agreed is just big enough to where you can do something with it, but just small enough to where you can get a lot of them and you can pose them, that kind of thing. So we're going to open this up. You know, some people think that this stuff might stay, you know, stay in the package. I'm telling you, if there's a million of these, they're not worth anything. Of note, it was on clearance originally, according to this, had a price tag of $17.99 retail when it came out. Did anybody out there buy any of these Batman McFarlane toys in the classic series and pay $17.99 or more? Like, did you buy any for 18 bucks in shipping? If so, leave that in the comments. I just want to know who's buying them. But it eventually went to clearance for what looks for $5.39 on here, and they tagged it at $4.99, and I decided that, well, you know, that's okay. So that was the first thrift store rescue score. The other one is this guy, and it was sitting there, and normally I do not buy anything Power Rangers. I also don't buy usually anything Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles unless it's all 4 of the turtles as a set. Then I would pick it up. If it's like an individual one, you know, there's a million of them. They're different scales or different qualities. I think there may be a couple different companies have done it over the years. Don't have a lot of faith in it as I never really got into the series, and I'm not really into it as a type of a collector. You know, I don't think they think there's so many of them that the value of this is really in a set of Ninja Turtles myself. And I assume the same thing has got to go for Power Rangers, that you got to have the whole pack for Power Rangers to make sense. And of course, Power Rangers, like any of those weird Japanese shows like Kamen Rider and you know, etc., they always have the weirdest monsters in them. It's hard to describe what they come up with for these different you know, characters for them to fight, and this is probably no different. So this is a Pirantishead. I don't know exactly what that means. Is he part like piranha or something? I was initially going to pass until I looked at the back and I saw the figure, and I thought it actually looked pretty cool, and it looks kind of like it's in the it looks like it's in the 1/12 scale. I don't know what scale really, you know, Piranha Men come in, but he comes with a couple of different hands and some different weapons and whatnot, and I thought, you know, he looks pretty cool. We should just snap him up. He was $10, which is probably about $5 too much that I paid, but you can always pack them back in the package and wait a few years, and after you've played with them for a while and taken some photographs, you can you know, you can resell them and maybe get my 10 bucks back later. So I'm not too worried about that. So anyways, let's go put these guys up on the spinner, rotate them, and just take a closer look, and we'll see what we got. So the Catwoman has some very mild articulation, about as good as a Marvel Legends. The legs rock back and forth. There's hinges on the knees and the elbows. You can rotate the hands. There are ball joints on the shoulders. The head rocks around. It's pretty much printed in black with a little bit of gold for the belt, and the same gold paint is used on the jewelry. I think that's a great way to keep costs down, great way to simplify the look of the character. Overall, I think it looks pretty cool. I think she's kind of a cool Catwoman. I believe this is the Eartha Kitt version, and you know, I guess everyone probably has their favorite. I think they're all good in my mind. I don't have any one that I think is better than the other. For this, I did bring out a few of my cat figures. Know that this is probably about a third of them, and this is kind of what would fit on the Lazy Susan So, you know, that's a bonus treat for people who tuned in and thought they were going to look at just the figure. No, you get to see some other stuff. You get to see some cats with it. Anyways, this, in my opinion, is kind of a score for $5. You may be able to find these even cheaper. And if you are looking for this figure on eBay, please note that these are everywhere for cheap, so you shouldn't have to pay more than $5 plus the shipping for this, and you may get them even lower than that. Let's move on to the next fig. So this guy is pretty fantastic right out of the box. He is made of that kind of more rubbery type of plastic. It's a little more spongy, a little bit more like what the Marvel Legends guys come in. A couple of hands come with them. This weird weapon, some sort of cool water effect. I don't know where this goes. I guess I should, you know, look at the box a little more. Well, don't know where it goes. Doesn't show me in the box. But this guy, I can tell you already, I love. I think this guy might even be worth a bit of a customization. I think you could give him a bit of a paint wash on the back and make those scales pop out. I think that the blue is pretty cool. The white is pretty cool. I find the sort of salmon colored tips kind of annoying with the green. I don't know. I think he could be in for a slight touch-up or a repaint, so to speak. I think you could also do something interesting with the eyes. Give him some doll eyes that are kind of dead. He can also hang out with as many, you know, aquatic creatures as you can find. I know I've got like a bunch of sharks, but I think I actually have some shark men. And if you collect any of those kind of whatever those street shark characters, this guy could also hang out with them. He's also a monster, and so he can go with any, you know, medieval fantasy characters. He could be a sidekick, a good guy, you know, who's just sort of the weird monster sidekick, or he could be like a boss that they're fighting. If you're into science fiction action figures, this guy, of course, could be some weird, you know, science fiction alien fish hybrid man, sort of like a Admiral Akbar. Either way, he has got nothing but good vibes to pump out with his weird, menacing fishman presence, you know, sort of the next generation creature from the Black Lagoon. And I think if you're into collecting figures that just are unusual and look weird and people don't recognize who they are or where they're from, you might think about picking one of these guys up in the Lightning Collection, which is currently on sale at retailers, around the country, Walmart and Target. But apparently as they're bringing in new waves, the old waves are getting kicked to the curb. They're going to jobbers and they're being sent to thrift stores, flea markets, and goodwills. And so you should have no problem picking them up. So that's it for this thrift store toy rescue. A couple of figs on the cheap that I picked up. Just thought you guys might find it interesting what you can find. Also give you kind of a little mini review of the McFarlane and the Lightning Collection Power Rangers figures that are out there, quality, you know, posability, that kind of thing. If you're interested in these sort of extreme toy hunts on a thrift store level, on a garage sale, Goodwill kind of level, you should definitely follow this channel. I do thrift store rescues all the time, and I also take video of the product sitting on the shelves inside the Goodwill that shows you just exactly how many unsold toys are out there. Just by extrapolating, if there's like 20 of them on the shelf at this Goodwill, think of how many else there are floating around the planet, and that if it's something you're trying to collect, something for whatever reason you couldn't find at retail or it was sold out at your you know, wherever you like to shop, your Entertainment Earths, etc. Follow the channel and you'll see what's coming up in droves. I did a couple of shorts. They're like a minute or less where I just showed how many Masters of the Universe toys are sitting on the shelves of Goodwill. Totally overwhelming. I mean, there was like Skeletors for $4 or less, and there's stacks of them. You know, there's Gigantosaurs, $30 each, just going down the row in these thrift stores. You know, so the stuff's not hard to find. They made an abundance of it. Anyways, that's all for now. I'll catch you guys in the next one.